Tim Yoginaha Prayata Yantitam Kalam Vakshyami Bharatarshava Agniya Jyotirha Shukla Shanmasa Uttaraya Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Brahma Vido Janaha Dhumorachistata Krishna Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandrama Samjyotir Yogi Prapyani Vartate Shukla Krishne Gatiyete Jagata Shashvate Mate Ekaya Yatyanavitim Anyaya Vartate Punaha.
Actually, one more verse and it's finished.
Oh yeah? Okay, let's go to the end of the chapter then. So we'll chant 27, 28. Naite Shritti Karta Janan Yogi Muyati Kaschana Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Yoga Yukto Bhavarjuna Vedeshu Yagyeshu Tapasu Chaiva Dhaneshu Yat Punya Phalam Pradishtam Adyeti Tat Sarvam Midam Viditva Yogi Param Sthanam Upaiti Chadyam Iti Shri Mahabharate Shatta Sahasrayam Samhitayam Vayasikyam Bhishma Parvani Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastri Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Tadaka Brahma Yoga Namastodaya. So maybe we can invite Krishna Kanta Didi. You read the translations. You can. Oh, you want to do both Italian too?
No.
We do have some Italians in the group, so maybe it's good to read the Italian.
But it's just, few. I don't want to ruin your program.
Okay, then the English then.
So this is from
21, yeah.
He is said to be the unmanifest and the invincible, proclaimed by the Upanishads to be the supreme goal, reaching whom one does not return to this world. Know that destination to be my supreme abode. O Partha, I, the supreme person, within whom all beings are situated, and by whom this whole universe is pervaded, am attainable only by exclusive devotion. O Bharatarshava, now I shall describe to you the circumstances in which the yogis attain either liberation or rebirth at the moment of death. Upon leaving the body, the knowers of Brahman attain Brahman via the path of fire, light, day, the waxing moon, and the sun's northern ascent. Upon leaving the body, the karma yogi reaches the heavenly plane via the path of smoke, night, the waning moon, and the sun's southern ascent, but returns to undergo rebirth. These two paths of the world, the bright and the dark, are accepted as being perpetual. By the bright path, liberation is attained, and by the dark path, one is reborn. O Partha, the devotee, Bhakti Yogi, who knows this bright and dark path is not deluded. Therefore, O Arjuna, be ever fixed in transcendental, exclusive devotion. Thus, knowing of my glories and the glories of devotion for me, the devoted soul, surpassing the scripturally cited fruits of piety, achieved by chanting the Vedas and performing sacrifice, austerity, and charity, attains my supreme holy abode. And chapter 8.
Yeah, maybe that is.
The merciful absolute.
Anything comments?
You start.
I want to hear from everyone. Chinmoy Prabhu, you look like you have something to say. Anyone have any thoughts, comments on what we just heard?
We'd like to hear from Krishna Kanta Didi.
Well, I'm kind of on a trip, actually, myself, on these two paths. because I'm lastly like very captivated by the explanation of Guru Maharaj about the planetarium, let's say, like, you know, all these different strata that we have to go through to cross the universe and reach the Viraja, and then crossing Viraja and then go to the spiritual world. There is this very super beautiful explanation of Guru Maharaj in his illumination on verse 9 of Upadeshamrita.
Is it published in the book?
Is in the book. Amazing explanation, and so these two paths also, they're very tricky to me. Sorry to say like this, but because I think also in the Bhagavatam are present, mention this, and I think the path to liberation is described as the Milky Way, like how the yogi crossed this universe to the Milky Way, and I think it's very like cosmic. So it's really, I mean, chamatkara, let's say. But the fact that the bhakti yogi, they are not bewildered, because they neither search for returning in this world, nor they aspire for liberation. So, but still, it's very interesting that description of Guru Maharaj about like how our journey, and he say that there are so many planes that are very charming. And if you read also the
Brihad Bhagavatam, right.
Like the how Gopakumar is traveling in all these various strata of consciousness, we can say. How some of these places are really amazing, like, and very captivating. And so much there is like this material world, the physical aspect of, let's say, reality or illusion is like very small. And then as more you go in the subtle planes, they're bigger and bigger. And but Guru Maharaj said is like some person can cross all of that like in an unconscious state and very quickly, like a needle pass through the 100 lotus petal. And very quickly some people may go, and some people may instead going and be charmed by some of that and then get stuck in some this. It's like going on a train. But Guru Maharaj said, if you have a guide, then you won't waste your time. He will tell you, no, don't stop here. Don't get down the train here. It's just another different kind of illusion and exploitation. Just proceed on. But so it's good for us to know, you know, to have some idea how we're gonna navigate the universe once we leave the body. Of course, we try.
I hope you're all taking notes.
No, I mean, we just have to hold to our Guru's feet, and just, he said, like the boat, you just have to hold on because the boat is going very fast. Just not to fall in any one of these charming places. But yeah, it's very fascinating to know these things about the universe and how. And then, of course, Guru Maharaj, after describing all the strata of this universe, he goes on describing the Viraja river, and of which one side is like looking like water. It's not a river in a sense of water, but it's like the lower, how do you say, sponda, margin of this river, like the lower bank. Yes, is there like the Prakriti? It's like the Prakriti before the manifestation of the different. It's like very subtle plane of material existence, and that is, Guru Maharaj say, that is the goal of the Buddhist. The Buddhists, they don't believe in the soul or any spiritual substance, and their idea is that once you extinguish your mental body, your mental desire, then you extinguish your existence. So their goal is to merge into this lower side of the Viraja river. And instead, on the other side is the Brahman. So it is a spiritual side on the other side of this river. And that is the goal of the Shankaracharya follower, the Mayavada, that they accept there is a consciousness like pervading everything. Then they want to merge, they want to lose their individuality in that light, in that spirit. But for us, this is what these verses say. The devotee, they're not interested in going in either of these. And they want to cross and have a positive, maintain their individuality, but in the spiritual world. And then they proceed, and then Vaikuntha, and then this is maybe Vishaka knows better than me for sure. And I like more the exploration of the material world. I'm still stuck. But anyway, and we say, all this plane, Guru Maharaj say, all this plane of existence are just like subtle and subtle plane of exploitation, like different way of exploiting the material energy in a more subtle
or gross way, right?
Yeah, from gross to subtle, but still is the word of exploitation. And then there is the Viraja river, which is the liberation state, but also he say that from that state, you can, in that plane, you can stay for maybe a very long time, but not really forever, because then it's a very, as we know, we come in from there, so it's a very unstable position. When again the manifestation of the universe comes, you know, these seeds, this impulse, material impulse, they're not completely dead, so they will again push us to come back to the material world when a new creation happens. But only we can extinguish completely our material desire by developing the spiritual attachment, the spiritual desire for the spiritual world, for the service of Krishna and his devotees, and like this. And so the real liberation is only for devotees, actually. The other kind of liberation are all like not so, that like especially the Sayuja Mukti, they're merging into that mass of light or into the maybe the Prakriti, like the Buddhist, is not unspeakable.
Not permanent.
Yeah, not permanent, and the devotees they're not. They don't want that.
What was the word that you said?
It's not unspeakable.
Unspeakable.
It's Italian.
Auspicious.
Not auspicious. No. It's not desirable.
Desirable.
Okay, because there is no love. I mean, there is no relationship with God in that state. There is not love in exchange. And so our ultimate goal is to have a loving relationship. This is what ultimately is the desire of every living entity. It's intrinsic to our nature. We cannot eliminate that from our nature. And also another very beautiful thing he said in that lecture is that the yogis and the karmis, they fall from that situation because they cannot harmonize with their environment. Because they don't recognize a superior power, they don't recognize the existence of God. And so they think they can control themselves, they can separate themselves from this matter, from the material world independently. They can reach an independent position, but it's impossible because nothing is independent, everything depending on Krishna. As Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita say, like gems strung on a thread. But the yogi and jnani, they don't consider him, and therefore they cannot pierce through that plane, and eventually they will have to come back again. But I suggest you probably already read with Vishaka the Upadeshamrita.
No.
We just went through just the illumination of Guru Maharaj in that book. But this, the 8 and 9 illumination on the verse 8 and 9.
This group, by the way, is has a lot of new persons.
Okay.
This particular group. So
Okay.
Many of them, they're not so familiar with some of these
Well,
things.
so maybe I was, I don't know. I don't know if it was clear.
Maybe for some of them, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But that was a wonderful, really wonderful explanation. Krishna Kanta Didi, she actually made this really cool voiceover discussing the creation of the universe. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's in English too.
It's in, yeah, but you know, it
English
got
subtitle.
blocked in
No, but
outside of
then
Italy. Is it up again?
I think it's up again.
Okay.
It got blocked because we used some George Harrison music. Or something.
Oh, something silly like that.
No, like George Harrison singing the
So they blocked it for that.
but then they
put it back up. Okay.
I think so.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that was wonderful. That was really wonderful.
I have a question, if I can ask a question to you.
Can you share the link that Chintamani is asking
For what?
for that video? We'll share it with you later in the
Oh.
chat. We'll share it. You can share it in the chat.
I
Yeah.
have to look for it.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'd like to see it again too. Veera Chandra Prabhu has a question here.
I was just wondering if the name of this chapter has been translated by Guru Maharaj or Srila Gurudev is the merciful absolute.
You know, as I understand, like the original text doesn't really have chapters per se.
Right.
But no, these titles are every edition of Bhagavad Gita, they have different chapter titles. Like if you look in there, you know, they aren't in the original text and they've been added just to kind of break it up a bit. And I mean, obviously there must be, I mean, like we have these verses showing the ends of chapters. So there's something, right? But as I understand, like these titles, these have been added and you'll see every edition has a different set of titles. Like Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he has different titles and your Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I don't know if anyone else can say anything about that. Maybe Krishna Kanta Didi or Jayadev Chinmoy. But,
I think this Gita is translated by Sagamaj from the Bengali book, so I think it translates.
But what was your question actually?
Well, I
the
just
Taraka Brahma Yoga.
Yeah, Taraka Brahma Yoga. Like how does that refer to the merciful absolute?
Well, Taraka more literally is translated as like deliverance, delivering. So there is an element of mercy there. There's an aspect of mercy there. Yeah. Anyone else have anything to say on that topic? Is anyone totally lost with what we've been discussing and has a question? Anyone at all? That was so wonderful to hear from Krishna Kanta Didi, and thank you, Chintamani, for pressing her.
No, but no, you know why I'm tripped by that? Because but reaching in Italy, we I don't know other country, but we figure out that most like maybe 90%, maybe 99% of people, when they speak about spiritual or the soul, they actually don't refer to the soul, but they refer to the mental subtle element within us, like. And there is much confusion. I had a conference with this one man who for all his life is researching into this ghostly plane. And before we had this meeting together, like a public conference, I told him, but because I understand he was like speaking about when leaving the body and having contact with people like this after they left their body. And I say, but really, and I clearly told him, but in the West, most of the people, they confuse spiritism with spirituality. You know? And he said, no, I'm talking about spiritual. But then we had this meeting and he was clearly like confused. He clearly misunderstood. Like, you think when some people leave the body is in a spiritual form, but that is still the mental form. So it's still a mental covering. That's why it's interesting to know, you know, what is all this other subtle plane of existence that we have to go through before we actually, or also inside of us, before we actually go to contact the soul proper, which is, you know, the seer. Then is that light that allows us to see, to perceive everything else, our mind, our intelligence, our like like this. But it's very difficult for people to understand this. And this is the very primary teaching of Krishna and Bhagavad Gita. Like, we are not the body, we are not the mental aspect, like the Indriyani, Paraniya. Is and our guru also in the West, I've seen him most of the time, he was like hitting this point, because we don't know. We don't know who we are, we don't know how to search.
Marie is sharing an interesting comment. The concept of the soul is distinct from the spirit is very new in the West.
Yes.
2,000 years ago, neither was distinct from the act of breathing in most Western philosophies. And this is something that we appreciate so much about the teachings of the Vedas, because they're giving like clear, systematic information on all of these points. What is the soul? What is the body? What are all these different layers of ego, the mind, the intellect? It's very clear, very scientific. There's no haziness there. So yeah, that's a beautiful point. And also, just to add on to what Krishna Kanta was saying earlier, there's this one, some of you know about these domes, the 360 immersive domes that one of our sannyasis, Avadut Maharaj, makes. Well, there's Ananda Krishna tuning in from London, and also Rituraj Prabhu also tuned in. And there's this one video that he produced, which is called Journey of a Yogi. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw.
It's absolutely fascinating, and it shows the journey of this yoga. Because in this Maha Yogi, one of our devotees, he did a lot of research into the Vedas, and there's Tarit Prabhu also joining in London. Dandavat, Tarit, Dandavat. And it's showing, I'm sorry, you two both missed a really wonderful explanation from Krishna Kanta. You can catch up later. But it's showing the journey of this yogi. Wow, Chaitanya Mai is here too. Wow, we're having a real party today. Showing this yogi, I think he starts from the lowest planet, right?
Yeah.
And then works and it shows like in graphic detail the nature of each of these 14 planes, planetary systems within this, one Brahmanda. And with detail, like what is the nature of each of these planes. And as Krishna Kanta was saying, you see how they can be very enticing. Of course, some of them are not so attractive. Some of them are darker planes, but the higher planes, they can be.
Even the lower plane.
They're fascinating.
Yeah,
It's true. They're fascinating. Yeah.
I was surprised to read in the Bhagavatam how nice is some of the lower planetary systems. Very beautiful.
And when I watched, this was a few years ago in Ukraine that I watched it, and it kind of hit me in quite a heavy way, and it made me realize like how fortunate we are, because like this, it's like a jungle out there, and it's so easy to get lost. So we've been and this human plane is particularly fortunate, because this is described pretty much as the door to get out. In the lower planes, and we were discussing this a few weeks ago too, in the lower planes, you're burning off your bad karma. In the higher planes, you're burning off good karma, generally speaking. And this plane is like the door where you can exit the whole show, the whole circus. And we've been given like a clear path forward by our gurus, and clear vision, clear perspective of the whole thing. So we're very fortunate, and it had a very like sobering effect on me. Like, I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to get lost in that jungle out there. Let's use the opportunity that we have. So and then the other thing I just wanted to add was and this is something that's come up a few times in our reading of Bhagavad Gita, and our Gurudev has said, not every section of Bhagavad Gita, not every verse is relevant for those in the practice of pure devotion. And in these, some of these verses we just read, they fall into that category. And as Krishna Kanta said, we're holding on to the feet of our guru. Our Gurudev also, he was asked once, actually, like, because Krishna Kanta referenced this Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is charting the journey of this Gopa Kumar as he's moving through all these different planes of existence. And so someone asked our Gurudev once, like, do we have to go through that? And our Gurudev said, like, if someone's joined this line and taken shelter of a guru in this line, it said it's like they're getting on an elevator. You can bypass all of these zones, So yeah. Any other words you want to add?
Not now, maybe.
Anyone else want to share any thoughts or ask any further questions?
Can I say something?
Please, yes, Ramana.
Yeah, I remember also same lecture of Srila Guru Maharaj. And the Guru Maharaj, some devotee was telling, oh, some devotee want to get off in Vrindavan. Then Srila Guru Maharaj said, no, this is a Navdvip Express. We're going to Navdvip. We're not going to stopping anywhere. Very sweet conversation.
What did you say? An express train?
Yeah, express train. He said, this is Navdvip Express. We're going to Navdvip. Yeah. That's our goal. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Ramana. Very nice.
Can I share something?
Yes, Ananda, go ahead, please.
So we were just reading Search for Sri Krishna because I'm close to finishing now. And what you said about being at the door, that this is the exit, right? And I thought that was funny because we were just reading this.
Is this that Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, that verse? Is he referencing that verse?
Yeah. Yeah, and then he goes on saying he may attain bhakti, but he has not yet achieved it. His negative forces are finished, but still he is just at the door. He has not yet entered. He may enter, he may not enter. From there, if he gets anything, it will be pure, but he's still at the door. So I thought that was a nice a way to come enter the Zoom by you starting to mention that this is the exit. Yeah.
Right, the pieces are all coming together here.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're like on a safari here, aren't we?
Yeah, when we meet up, it all just opens up.
Yeah, all these planes of existence that we're navigating through. But I like what Krishna Kanta said earlier, like that you were quoting from our gurus, like one may pass all of these planes in an unconscious way, right?
Very fast, without realizing even where you're going to it.
Right. Because ultimately all of these planes are planes of existence, they're planes of consciousness. And one may, and there's also the analogy given in Chaitanya Charitamrita of the creeper or the vine, because nowadays people don't use the word creeper, but in English we don't say that. No one says it anymore. It sounds like creeper, like creepy. So the vine of devotion, right? This bhakti lata, this analogy is used. And there's maybe that's the section you're referencing where Srila Sridhar Maharaj talks about how this vine, this analogy is given of a vine, right? That we've received the seed of devotion, the bhakti lata bij in this plane. And then we're watering that, right? Watering that through the waters of hearing and chanting, shravan and kirtan. And then that there's a sprout of faith, right? And then that sprout's growing into a vine, and it's growing, and then it's growing, moving upwards and approaching the plane of Vrindavan. And then finally, in its fully developed state, it's grown into a full-fledged vine, and there's fruit coming from that, the fruit of Krishna prema, divine love. And then the devotee is happily eating that fruit. But Sridhar Maharaj explains, what does that mean? And in these verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's mentioned how this vine will pierce through Brahmanda Bedijai. This vine will pierce through all the layers of the Brahmanda, all the planes within these, all these planetary, all these planes of existence, right? That the creeper will pierce through all of these planes And so this is actually representing planes of consciousness, right? That the soul, through their faith, they're transcending so many planes of consciousness within the world of exploitation and renunciation, and then eventually going through higher and higher planes of dedication, right? Then once you go past the Brahman plane, right?
I have a question, Vishaka.
Yes, Gangalila.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm so fascinated, but I need to ask the question, is that possible while in this earthly body, in this existence, or is that actually after my leaving the body? Is that my soul's journey, or is that actually my individual jiva being's destiny?
Well, thank you for bringing it up, Gangalila, because yes, that's exactly what we're saying. That yes, it is all about consciousness. So even while here in this plane, this journey can be taking place in a conscious sense, and even unconsciously it may be taking place, through the spirit of dedication. Our Gurudev used the analogy of a rocket once, right? A few times we heard him say that. And then he described Shraddha, faith, as a launching pad, right? So it's like a rocket that's being projected towards that higher plane, and then so in the same way, our consciousness, like on that rocket, the spirit of dedication, we can transcend all of these different planes of existence. And our Gurudev has mentioned, we may go past the stage of liberation and not really notice it, as we were mentioning in one of our meetings recently, ultimately the practice and the goal, they merge into one. So you'll be doing exactly the same things, right? Going to arati, going to the worship, cooking for the Lord, cleaning the temple, taking care of the devotees, and all of these things, we'll be doing exactly the same things. But the inner transformation, that will be what is significant. That is what will be dynamic. So yes, and this is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. This, what is that verse in chapter 4? That Krishna is saying, the one who realizes evam yoveti tattvava, chapter 4. What is that famous verse? Can't remember it right now. Where is it? Janma karma, here it is. This Janma karma chame divyam. Krishna is saying, one who realizes the nature of my, my divine activities, they will attain me upon leaving this body. But our gurus explain that can take place even while present in this body, according to one's consciousness. And there's this expression, what is it? Mukta. What is that expression? Mukta, Jivan Mukta, right? We hear that expression, Jivan Mukta. Means even while present in this body, we can be mukta, we can be liberated.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
I remember hearing one class of Srila Gurudev in Russia, telling to all the devotee present, about the unconscious, what we can go through in an unconscious way. He say I can see that every one of you is actually a liberated soul. And I can see this, but you can't. So, and he say why? He say, because I think nobody can come to here can appreciate the conception given by my Gurudev, by Guru Maharaj, without being a liberated soul. So I think, what he means is that he has a higher vision than us, and he was Russian devotee, he wasn't Italian or anybody else. But but anyway, the principle is that maybe we don't realize, but by the practicing of all this, the sadhana that is given by our gurus, is having an effect on our consciousness. We may not realize how much effect he has or not, but he does do the job. And so Gurudev, I think he say that, he say I can see you are all liberated soul. You cannot feel that, but I feel. So it's encouraging. Like we maybe not feel we're going anywhere, but our guru is taking us somewhere. He's taking us there, so we can have faith in that. Is like it's very difficult to have faith in a blue god that's dancing and playing the flute, but it's more real. Like we have faith in our guru. You know, we saw him. We saw how he behaved with everybody, and so the fact that he believes these things, it makes me confident that it's real, you know, because he's not, he's not a fool, and he's not, who's good, we don't know, but definitely is someone we can trust. So be confident that he's taking us in the right place. And his train won't stop anywhere. We just have to hold.
Stay on the train.
Stay on the train. Stay on the boat, whatever. Sorry, just
no, that was really nice. You know, one time he told to my mother, Devi, he said, "I can see your spiritual form," said to her.
wow.
No, yeah.
Wow.
Because
some people came to Maharaj and asked him, "Can you tell me what my spiritual form is?" And he said, "You first show it to me, then I can tell you." You know, some people think they have already a spiritual form, and it's just a matter of, you know, anyway.
And he would say sometimes to the devotees also, you know, your future is very bright. You know, that was something he would say sometimes. Like he's seeing into the future. Like it's just a matter of time. You know, like you're gonna get there. You know, you're gonna get there. I'm seeing that. You know. So yes, I like what you said. There is this transformation taking place, which we're kind of like in the interim, holding on, and all the struggles going on. You know, but there is something happening, and there is an end in sight. You know, that we may not be able to see, but he can see. And anything. Oh, one other thing I wanted to also what Ananda brought up. I maybe wanted to clarify that a little. He's referring, this is a verse in Bhagavad Gita. It's a well-known verse in the 18th chapter, Brahma Bhuta. We can go to it since we all have our books. I think it's 1860 something. It's near the end. It's Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, no shochati, no kankshati. Here it is, 54. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatmana Shochati na Kankshati Samasarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhaktim Labhate Param, where Krishna is describing the nature of someone who has realized their nature as spirits. You know, what are the characteristics of someone who's realized their spiritual nature? That they are not shochati, na kankshati. First, prasanatma, they're joyful. You know, na shochati, they do not lament after anything, and na kankshati, they do not hanker, they do not desire for anything of this world. Because normally these are the two things that we're going through, right? We either want something that we don't have, you know, or then when we do have it, we're afraid we're going to lose it, you know, and, you know, sometimes spending lots of money to make sure we don't lose it, the security and all these things, right? So normally it's like that. We want what we don't have, and we're afraid to lose what we do have. You know? But the enlightened soul, the Brahma Bhuta, they know they're Atma, they're soul. So they're not, it's all matter. We are spirit, and we don't need matter. We don't need the physical things of this plane. And samasarveshu bhuteshu, they see everyone with equal vision. They're not stuck in the duality of, you know, judging persons according to their supposed good or bad on the mundane platform. But, you know, the king, the beggar, you know, the drug addict, the politician, they're all on the same level. And then there's this phrase, mad bhaktim labhate param. Krishna is saying, it's kind of interesting the way it's phrased. Krishna is saying that such a person, they will come to achieve my devotion. Because this is describing someone who's attained liberation, right? They've reached that plane of Brahman, beyond, like they transcended the whole mundane sphere. They've reached this middle zone, but they haven't entered the dynamic spiritual plane of devotion, haven't entered there yet. So as Ananda was saying, like they're at the door, but they're still not in a secure position. And as Krishna Kanta was saying, if they don't enter that current of dedication, they're going to come back down again. So these are like yogis and, those into practices of self-ascension and austerity and renunciation. They can reach that point of liberation, attaining a passport, right? Realizing themselves as soul, as Atma, but they haven't got the visa yet to enter the eternal spiritual plane, which is based on dedication. So dedication is the only current which is sustainable, which is eternal, which is permanent, and which is wholly fulfilling and satisfying to the self. So just to clarify what Ananda was referring to. Anyone else want to share any thoughts or raise any questions? A few things in the chat here. Oh, Chinmoy Prabhu has found that video here.
Okay.
How long? Maybe it's a bit long to go through now. 20 minutes. Okay. Okay, so we have that. It's in the chat. You can all have a look later if you're interested. It's beautifully done. Is this the one with English? Yeah, there's English subtitles, I think. Okay. Over. Madhu Chand is also joining us from Ukraine. Yeah, she is in Ukraine now. Yeah.
Dandavat, everyone.
Dandavat. Dandavat. We still have a few minutes left. Anyone want to bring up any final point before we close? We've come to the end of that chapter, haven't we? Come to the end of chapter 8. So yeah, just to tie things up, I guess, just emphasizing again this point, we're taking shelter of our gurus. We're on that train of bhakti, and we don't have to, if we can do that, then we don't have to worry too much about these things that are mentioned here, the bright path and the dark path and all these things. These are things that the general yogis are concerned with, but we are taking shelter of our gurus. We are trying to follow the mood and practices of devotion, and we have faith. Our guardians will take care of us. They're going to keep us on the train, take us to the desired destination.
Didi, I have a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Lalita Madhava's little brother.
Speaking about progress, is it necessary to check our own spiritual progress? And if so, how do we check it?
Wait, sorry. Veer Chandra wants to say hello. Can you see?
Basically.
There we go. Okay. This is our dear brother Veer Chandra.
I met your brother, so I just wanted to meet you.
Oh, Jai.
Last time I heard he was in Singapore.
He's in Thailand now.
Now he's in Thailand.
The Veer Chandra is world famous, by the way. Wonderful devotee.
World infamous.
So Tarit Prabhu, you're saying, how do we check our own progress? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly, yes.
Okay.
Is it necessary to check our progress? And if so, how?
Well, there are different things that could be said on this. Maybe we could continue the discussion in our Tuesday meeting. We have question and answers then, because we just have a few minutes now. It's a big subject matter, but I'll briefly say two points come to mind. One point which has been made by our gurus is that our focus is on watering the roots. So we don't need to worry too much if the fruit is coming, if we're doing our part to water the root. You know, are we taking care of the seed? You know, we can't necessarily be sure about how we're doing. And you know, the other thing is that as we progress in devotion, then our tendency is to think less of ourselves, right? So it can be difficult to know how we're doing. But what we can do is ask ourselves, like, am I practicing humility, tolerance, and respect? Am I trying to serve the Vaishnavas? You know, do I have the aspiration to serve Guru, Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava? Do I have that feeling in my heart? Am I trying to do that according to my capacity? You know, am I following the various practices of devotion? Am I taking shelter of the holy name and so on? We can ask ourselves that. You know, so that is one point. You know, and then if we're doing that, then we can think, oh, I must, you know, something must be going well. You know, if I'm doing that. Another thing is that we can look within our heart and ask ourselves, is my desire to associate with the Vaishnavas, is my desire to hear about the topics of Krishna consciousness, is my desire to offer myself in service, is that increasing or decreasing? We may be struggling with many bad habits, you know, we may have obstacles in offering service. There may be many things that are obstructing our expression of devotion, but do we have that desire in our hearts? That is something reliable, because a bad sign is if we've lost that desire. That's a very bad sign. That means something's not adding up. Then we need to re-examine our practice. You know, that desire within us should be increasing, not decreasing. And I always come back again and again to this Bhagavatam verse, this Dharma Sanustitapam Sam, saying that if all of your practices of Dharma are not leading to an increased desire to hear Harikatha, the glories of the Lord and topics of the Lord, then they're all Shama Eva Hi Kevalam. They're all useless. No, all of your practices of religion and duties, they should have this end result of increased eagerness, laulyam, to hear about the Lord and the saints and so on. So that is another indicator, another way we can look at ourselves. And lastly, I'll say, you know, there's another verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj would reference sometimes when this question came up, which does describe some symptoms. The Sanskrit's not in my head right now, but it's a verse that gives this wonderful comparison of the development of devotion to the experience of eating a good meal. You know, so when you're eating a good meal, you experience three things simultaneously. You know, one, that your taste, your tongue you're enjoying pleasure. There's pleasure that comes from the taste. Then second is that you feel strength, you feel nourishment. And the third is that your feeling of hunger is diminishing, is going away. And so this is compared to, that's it, bhakti parishanu bhavu virakti anyacha chaisha chika eka kala prapadyamanasya yata. This begins like this. Then this is compared to, so the pleasure from the meal is compared to the development of one's devotion, you know, or we can say one's desire, one's eagerness to dedicate. You know, we cannot say, oh, my devotion is increasing, but we can ask ourselves, is my desire to try to serve and to dedicate, is that increasing? No. And then the feeling of strength, of nourishment, pushti. Tushti is the pleasure, pushti is the strength. So this nourishment, the strength that comes from eating, that is compared to one's realization, one's understanding of the Lord. You know, one's, you know, so the way it's translated, the verse is saying like one's experience of the Lord, which doesn't mean so much to us, but Srila Sridhar Maharaj explains that as our understanding, our conception should be developing. You know, what attracted me on day one that shouldn't be what's you know, sustaining us now. Like I came because I thought the incense was cool. Like, okay, that's okay on day one, but now it's been 5 years in, buddy. Like, come on, let's move on from there. Oh, there's good food there. Like, okay, that's okay for the first few days, but then you need to move on. Should we have some, oh, Krishna's a really, really cool dancer, so I like him. Like, that's wonderful on day one, but now it's 5 years in. Where are you now? What's your understanding of who Krishna is and who Mahaprabhu is and all these things and how we approach? And so that should be developing. And then the third, one's hunger dissipating, that is compared to detachment. There will be some detachment developing within us from worldly things. And that may be something that we're even unconscious of, which Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentions, you know, like we may look at ourselves with surprise and say, you know, oh, I was so attached to this bad habit 2 years ago, and it's just left me now. I don't have that desire anymore. And even he says, like, we may find our reactions change, like something that a few years ago I used to get very excited about. Now I feel angry when I see that or I hear that. No, I used to like to gossip about people, and now if I hear people doing that, I get upset. I used to have an addiction to cigarettes, and now if I see a cigarette, I feel disgusted. So we will look within ourselves and find there's some detachment that is developing there, just naturally, because of our advancement our development on the positive side. Our taste is growing for the higher side. Of course, there may also be a purging that takes place, you know, at times when our negative mundane attachments become stronger for some period. That's another thing. So yeah, here are some thoughts on that subject matter, Tarit Prabhu. But
Thank
you
you.
a nice question. And and we should take, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj says in one place, we should take stock from time to time. When we go to bed at night, we can ask ourselves, like, how many useless things did I say and do? How many Vaishnavas did I disturb today? and how much service did I offer? What did I do? How much should I give my energy for chanting, for reading the holy text, and so on? And how much should I give for Netflix? Our Gurudev, he mentioned this term of a saltamami. It's an Urdu word used in accounting at the end of the accounting year. Right. So, like, how much have I given to this side? Like, what's my debit and my credit? How much do I give into this side? How much do I give into that side? Yes, we can make some examination like that. It is good. I've seen on the phones now, it tells you like your usage time, like how much you spend on like browsing the web, how much you spend on your various apps, and it can be embarrassing sometimes. Oh man, I spent that long, like wasting my time. Like, so yes, that can be healthy to do. Okay, well, we're going over time here. It's getting late here in Italy as well. It's been a wonderful meeting with all of you beautiful souls. Special thanks to Krishna Kanta Devi for her wonderful contribution. For those of you who missed it, please tune in. I promise, Dulal Prabhu is helping us with uploading the recordings now. So I urge you to catch up with that when it gets posted.
Dulal Krishna ki jai.
Jai. Okay, any final words from anyone, or should we turn things over to Chintamani and Ganga Leela?
I posted our WhatsApp link for notifications only. We have 2 groups. We have our BhaktiNet WhatsApp group for just notices, just to get the Zoom link. Like, it's going to be in 2 hours, this one. I post in that group where we post, our team posts the Zooms that I personally nourish myself with, which is very, mostly Vishakhas and then a few other compatible ones. We do have a community chat group also, if you click in the group setting and the group description link. And that's my announcement for today. Every week we meet at this time, and we will be taking a pause on these Bhagavad Gita classes with Vishaka while she is doing her India pilgrimage. And we might have there might be a substitute one if we can encourage someone, but we can take a group conscience later. If we still want to continue, if people that aren't going to India with Vishaka want to continue this Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. So we'll do that another meeting. I'll turn it over to Gandalila now. Oh, sorry.
Chintami, I was just going to say, we could also think about doing some special broadcast in India, if we can find some suitable time that works. We can think about that. It would be cool to do a live meetup with everyone at some point. So we'll
done.
Okay, then Gangalila, Devi Dasi, please pray us out for today. Thank you so much, Chintamani, for sharing all the info so clearly.
Thank you, Krishna Kanta Didi. Thank you, Shaka Didi. All the devotees. Same here.
Is Gangalila there? Or did she have to go? Maybe she had to go.
Thank you
Yeah,
for your association.
Thank you, Radhana Rupini. So good to have you back.
Thank you for your association.
Okay, we'll close then. Yeah. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Dev Seekers ki Jai. Shri Bala Giriraj ki Jai. Shri Kanta Didi, Italian Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Jai ki Jai. Tamani Devi Dasi ki Jai. Virkanda Jai. Kaliya Krishna Guru ki Jai. Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai.
Haribo. Shiva Shaka Didi ki Jai. None of y'all. Thank you. Hare Krishna. See you next week.
Hare Krishna.